Well, let's get to this Mariner team, and the hardest thing for us has been identifying who they are. What is the identity of this team? They do one thing really well for a while, then they go complete opposite, and it's been up and down. They were in a terrible stretch going into that Cleveland series. We had talked about that last week, and then they pull off a sweep, which I don't know that anybody expected based on how they had been playing. So you're like, okay, all is right with the world. Mm-hmm. And then you fast forward to last night's game where they couldn't have looked more inept against a mediocre pitcher in Lucas Giolito, who shut them down. 15 strikeouts, 4 total hits, 3 of which came in a row, single in the third inning, bases loaded, nobody out. JP comes up, strikes out. Julio comes up, strikes out. Cal comes up, strikes out. Top of your order can't even put the ball in play against Giolito.
And that's why Bob has his Everett Aqua Sox baseball.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's what it leads to.
It's just beyond frustrating. But as a guy that's been there, seen it firsthand, how do you square that one?
Well, first off, Giolito got nasty in that inning and got the job done. 3 strikeouts, bases loaded. That's really, really hard to pull off. Secondly, where the team's at, just from an identity standpoint, it's, I think, ever evolving in a way. It's like one of the things where when it started out really, really good, it's easy to be like, okay, this is the team, right? And then as the season kind of unfolds and you get challenged with new adversities and guys have to step up in situations where players are hurt or you're in a situation you've never been in and having to learn from that, I think we're kind of seeing it all kind of come together at this point. And now where the season is, it's like, okay, maybe we're seeing just a blend of what this identity is, and the spectrum is quite large. When they're playing well, they're awesome. When they're not playing well, they're not so good. Mm-hmm. But, it's obviously a pretty easy thing to say, but, I just keep going back to this team has been built on pitching, so giving some of these starters back and seeing what Kirby did, now 10 Ks from Gilbert last night, that's huge. First start back. So one of the things that I think the identity is going to be continued to build on is the pitching staff and the ability to go out and get the job done and carve out these lineups, every night. So if they continue to perform pitching-wise, I think you're still going to find yourselves in a lot of close ball games and give yourself a chance to win.
Yeah, and it's too bad that they didn't pull that one out, because that was really a great night for Logan and a good sign going forward, right? I mean, you didn't get a win out of it, but yeah, I mean, I feel like that can be kind of like the secret weapon going into the second half, is getting the band back together, right? And getting all those guys healthy and going. And what did you see out of Logan? Did you see any hesitancy? The velo looked like it was good. I mean, anything from him to indicate that he's been on the IL?
No, I saw nothing. I saw a free and easy, let it rip type of pitcher that, typically when you have an injury and you're trying to come back, sometimes there is this, I like to call it like your internal self-awareness is being like, okay, if I push it too hard, I may end up hurting myself. So there's that little gauge inside that says, okay, I'm going to go 98%. And I didn't look like that. It looked like max effort, let it rip. Obviously we saw the radar gun, but to me, to be able to strike out 10 guys and put guys away like that just shows me that he's finishing his pitches, he's executing at the highest level. And, after those strikeouts happen, you can actually see his body language. He looks and feels strong just like he always did. So it seemingly he did what he needed to do to get his arm right and his body right so he can, withstand the rigors of a starting pitcher. And, he did all the work he needed to do to get back, and we saw it last night. And what an incredible performance! Obviously, it was a tough loss with Mariners not scoring any runs, but that's certainly a huge spot for the rotation having Logan Gilbert back.
Yeah, that was beyond what I thought was a reasonable expectation. I was trying to go into this going, look, man, this is his first start since April 25th. It's amazing he was gone that long, but that's a while. So maybe it's going to take a start or two, and then he'll be Logan again. So I was trying to calm expectations, and he far exceeded it. He far exceeded what I thought he would do. He looked fantastic. The bullpen was great. They covered 4 innings last night, didn't give up a run, gave up 1 hit. I mean, as much as we talk about the inept nature of the offense for the Mariners last night, the Red Sox were held down. They had 4 hits as well. They scored 2 runs, but they struck out a whole bunch and limited, just the hits they came up with were more punitive. But, overall, it was a great night for the pitching. Logan was great. The bullpen was great. And that's not always been the case when it comes to the bullpen. So that was good to see as well. So there is frustrating as it was to watch offensively, there was that silver lining to it.
Yeah, kudos to the bullpen, and I'd say you could say the bullpen plan B, right? I mean, if you want to throw out your best guys in the bullpen, you didn't see them last night.
No, you saw Bizzardo, Pop,
right.
Thornton.
Right, exactly. And those are the guys that are vital to the success of the bullpen. You just can't rely on Aspire, Brash, Munoz combination every night. I mean, you'd love to, and I think come playoffs time, absolutely. Run them out there as many times as you can. But games like this are hugely important when guys are down or a situation just doesn't call for a Munoz, even though he's been down for a couple days. It says, okay, we need other guys to step up, and you saw it collectively. And it just, you push a couple runs across the board, and this game feels completely different, right? It's like, so I think the bullpen has really continued to be a bright spot when they need them.
Yeah, and why is that? Because every once in a while you're like, who the hell is Zach Pop? I mean, you just out of nowhere, and he comes in, goes 1 1/3. I mean, he gave up one hit. It just seems like they do such a great job. Who do you think, is there any one person, coach, whatever, that is responsible for the bullpen? Just seems to always find a way to work it out. Is anybody?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's one person. Probably a plethora of people in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Whatever their system is, their formula.
Yeah, I think you could point to the bullpen coach and the pitching coach, but I think you can also point to a guy like Munoz in the back of the bullpen, kind of anchoring it all down. And it's like, okay, well, we take care of that part, and then everyone kind of fills their role as the dominoes fall. And a lot of times you end up being like, okay, well, if you're in the bullpen and you're not the closer, then you're basically pitching in every inning, right? Mm-hmm. Like very few. Okay, maybe we count out Brash as like, all right, you're the 8th inning guy, but everyone else is up for grabs. Like, you got to be ready no matter what. But to be able to have those two guys, especially Munoz, for how historically good he's been this year, it really kind of sets the tone for everyone else of saying, okay, you may not be as good as Munoz, but you got to be able to hold your weight and get the job done in high leverage situations. So a combination of coaches and some current players, I think, is a good reason why.
Let's go back, because I think we talked on Friday, and Emerson Hancock hadn't pitched yet, and he put up his best start of his career. 7 innings, no runs.
It's because he came on with you guys.
That's usually what we chalk it up to.
Charlie knows.
But I mean, that was, we came out of that and talking about it, going, that made me feel a lot better about Bryce Miller and how long it may take him to come back. And not that I expect Emerson Hancock to be that guy every start, but you look at his game log, he's had 2 games where he blew up this year. The first one, obviously, and then one against, I think it was the Yankees. And in those 2 games, he went a combined 5 1/3 and gave up 13 runs. You look at the other 10 starts, he's given up 18 runs. I mean, he's been phenomenal, and he's always given this team a chance to win. But he took that extra step in this last start. What'd you see from him in this start?
Just an ever-evolving starting pitcher.
And he
right?
did it on 85 pitches, by the way.
Exactly.
7 innings.
Yeah, I mean, clearly I think from, we've talked about it a few times, like the difference in his fastball this year and the uptick in velocity. No matter who you are, if you're going to throw harder the next season, you're most likely going to find a little bit more success because you can get away with more things in the zone when you're throwing harder. But the ability to throw strikes consistently and then be in those pivotal counts, those 1-1, those 2-1, those 3-1 counts where you're down and you need to throw a strike, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing some execution on Hancock's part where it is, the count can go one or two ways, and it's like, okay, if it's going to be 2-1, I got to throw a ball here. Then it's, you really have to be precise on that 3-1 count, and if you're not, then you're either going to walk him or throw one, over the middle, and it's going to get hit. And he seemingly has figured out how to throw these pitches that his whole repertoire in ways that allows him to be more successful in and around the zone. And doing it in high leverage accounts where it's crucial to get guys out or crucial to throw a strike. So I think he's learned so much from those like crappy starts, those terrible starts where you go, man, I wasn't, or maybe it's a combination of things. Oh, I wasn't feeling good, I didn't have it, or I can't land the slider today. It doesn't work, right? I've landed 1 out of 10, and you kind of have to figure out ways to adjust on the fly, and then take those experiences and go, okay, that happened 2-3 weeks ago, a month ago. When I feel that or run into a situation again, I know I can't allow it to happen. So you end up having situations where you end up learning so fast because something happened weeks ago, and as a starting pitcher, you're going to go 5 innings, so you're going to kind of see a gambit of experiences and at-bats and situations, and you go, okay, well, is there anything that happened in the past that I can rely on? And that's what I think I'm seeing a lot out of Hancock is he's continuing to learn from his performances and continuing to improve on him. So that's just a really good sign of a strong, self-aware starting pitcher just continuing to get better.
Yeah, 3 starts in the month of June, a 1.53 ERA.
Big E.
You know who came in here and said he's going to be fine? Charles Furbush.
You remember that?
I do remember that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody was freaking out over Emerson Hancock.
Freaking out, man.
Yeah.
Well, when you go 2/3 and you give up 6 runs, it's it's not the.
But Charlie was like, "Hey, there's some things to like here," and sure enough. So, one other question I was going to ask you about, like we were just talking about Seawald and how he used to say, "I got 2 pitches, that's it." Like, how is it variations off of those same pitches? I mean, and how important is it to know? Like, I don't know. Seawald just knew who he was, and it just seems like, especially in the bullpen, it's like if you know who you are, then you're going to have much more success. Kind of walk us through what exactly does that mean?
Well, life lessons from Wyman here. I think that's what it is. If you know who you are, you're going to have success, right?
Yeah.
But it's the way of kind of understanding who you are as a pitcher and as an athlete. I think there's, who you are as a person and how you learn and take information and, how you are in the locker room as a teammate. But as a player, what you're trying to learn is, how can you take the skills that you have, the skills that ultimately got you where you are today? Like when you're in the big leagues, you're going, okay, I could sit here and I could, from my experience when I'm playing, didn't have a great changeup. It just wasn't that great. I was better at spinning the ball, and I could have, beat my head against the wall and said, hey, I need to have a good changeup. I'm just going to work on changeup all day. And you end up being in situations, and at the end of the day, it's not your best pitch, but then you're in a game, and they call that pitch, and then it backfires, and you go, man, I threw my 3rd best pitch to this guy. No wonder I got beat, right? It's like You kind of look at it that way and say, all right, how do I figure these things out? And you bring up the Seawald example. It's like, I got 2 pitches. This is all I got. Then I'm going to go out and this is it, right? So kind of what I felt similarly is like I was a generally fastball slider guy, mixed in a curveball and a changeup. They weren't, I could probably get away with the curveball more than the changeup. But knowing that when it was my time to shine and the ball's in my hand and I have to get the job done, I am solely going to rely on my strengths. Like it's really hard to be as a bullpen guy, 2nd and 3rd, one out, 2 outs, 8th inning, and you're in there to get the job done, and you decide to throw a pitch that in theory, you're least confident in, right? And being able to learn these things early on in your career, so you don't have to try and experiment at the highest level, just gives you a better chance at saying, hey, these are my strengths. This is what I get. This is what I got. Let's see what you got. And I think that's where, as a pitcher, you just have to throw the whole scouting report and throw everything out the window. And it's like, this is now a competition. I have to beat you, and I can't do anything but rely on my strengths in a lot of ways. And I think that's what you end up you seeing a lot of pitchers do. Is like, okay, I'm down in the count. I'm going to throw my slider. Like that's what's going to happen. So you kind of learn through trial and error, but who you are as an athlete kind of does evolve. But from a pitching standpoint, it really doesn't. It just has to do with execution and consistency.
Does you've been a starter, you've been a reliever, so you've got both mentalities.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm curious, in either of those roles, does your mentality change when you know you've got a Jekyll and Hyde offense, knowing I might get 5 runs, I might get 1 or none? I mean, attack any differently? Do you take fewer chances, more chances, or is your game plan, your mental approach unaffected by what your offense is or is not?
Yeah, more often than not, your mental approach is going to be unaffected. I think that it only becomes a little bit more apparent when it happens over the course of multiple games or a season. I could, point to Felix Hernandez, right, and say, hey, dude, you were an absolute beast out there every fifth day, and you didn't get much run support. And to be able to withstand that and still go out and give great performances, it's pretty impressive. Because you can easily say, oh, I did pretty good today. I gave up 1 or 2 runs. We lost, right? And kind of take the selfish route. But, like Felix, he always wanted the team to win. And, always was just like, I should have pitched better. Right? I gave up 1 run, 7 innings, 10 Ks. It was my fault.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He really biffed it.
Really, it's like one of those kind of crazy situations that, you end up being in. And, I always look at Felix when I played as like, he definitely had some tough offenses, in terms of what he was dealing with, and to be able to put up the numbers he did, it really kind of taught me, like, okay, control what you can, man. Like, because you can't, you have no control over the offense, right?
Right.
So as a pitcher, it's like, all right, I have one job, and this is to throw strikes and throw high quality, high level strikes at all times, and never try to be inconsistent. You're going to have clunkers, but let the chips where it fall where they may, and try and be the best teammate to everyone else so you can bring out the best version of themselves. So a lot of times in the dugout or, on road trips, you're trying to connect with everyone. And if someone's struggling, maybe I can say something or make them feel better or not think about what's going on, and it's like, how do we make this happen more frequently when you play so many games and everyone's getting pulled in different directions on and off the field? And when we're all together, how do we, stir this pot together to, have the goal be it's playoffs or bust, I
remember Felix, whenever we had him on, like out at Edgar's, he would always like stay through the break and talk to us. And I remember asking him, like, my co-hosts were asking him, can you show me the grip on this and that? And, how do you throw this? He's always just a saint, man, just a gem. Was he that way as a teammate?
Yeah, he was amazing. And a little fun fact. So Felix is 3 days older than me, like 3 days. And I'm just like, when I met him, I'm like, man, you as an athlete, you make it to the big leagues. You think you're halfway decent at sports, right? Yeah. And then I meet Felix. And I'm like, you're 3 days older than me? And your resume is a million times better than mine. Oh my gosh. Like, so it kind of put things into perspective.
He humbled you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and appreciated him even more, because anytime you're coming up as a 19-year-old in the big leagues, it is, talk about not knowing who you are. Yeah. You remember who you were as a 19-year-old? I certainly didn't.
I was an idiot.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was, definitely not aware of what was going on. And as a 19-year-old, to be able to have to withstand that, and then couple that with a tough offense, and you're up against it, and the year over year of maybe an underperforming team, I just always look at him and I say, man, if he had a even halfway decent offense, I think he would have been one of the guys that put the Mariners like into another level, because no one wanted to face him. Like, he had his own court. It was crazy, right? Like, people's cheering for him. Like, talk about a competitive advantage. It's like, okay, anytime Felix gets 2 strikes, the crowd's going to yell against you. Yeah. Like, I wish I had that.
Yeah.
I mean, the games that I pitched, right? When the games that I came in for him,
Charlie
for sure.
Court?
Yeah, exactly, right? I don't know if Charlie Court, maybe Furbush Court, or...
Yeah.
That sounds a little more appropriate.
We'll figure out during the break. We'll figure out
text us.
Well, somebody was texting in asking if you've got any nicknames.
Is that a real question? Come on.
Do
I have any nicknames?
Well, or do you have one that you gravitate?
Come on,
that you like better than others?
Man. So at this point, I
actually you can say on the air.
I only appreciate new nicknames, because I've heard so many. I've heard them all. So if you have one, send it in. I'd love to give you credit if it is new or not. But I
have to be able to read it on the air.
One of my favorites actually back in the day, which I don't know where it came from, was Chuckleberries.
Chuckleberries.
Chuckleberry.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, because of
Because my name's Charles, Chuck.
Yeah.
I don't know where the berries come from, but
Yeah, berries.
See,
I appreciate it because it was a new one. I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah.
but managers always put the E sound on everything. So what would they call you? Furby? Hey,
Yeah,
Furby had a great game.
That's right.
Was that a thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to rewind back to the mid-'90s when the Furby got invented and came out, a little toy, wouldn't stop talking. You know,
was
remember
that
the Furby?
what it-
Oh, my God. We got him as a family. It was the most annoying thing in the world. In the middle of the night, I'd wake up. It wouldn't stop. I mean, I think my older brother launched it off the wall and like shattered into 10 pieces. Yeah, good luck. If you look up the Furby if you don't remember.
Oh, so was that where they call you that, though?
Oh, yeah,
They just
Furby.
automatically put the E on
Yeah,
everybody's.
Bush,
Vargy.
Bushwhacker. You know,
Bushwhacker.
the list keeps going. So we can play that. We can keep going. I mean,
Yeah,
you let me know.
Text them in.
There's your Furby.
Yeah, see?
There
Yeah.
we go.
You remember those things?
Yeah.
I remember the
That's
name
right.
now that we're saying it. Yeah. We're inching toward that trade deadline, and moves have been made. Obviously, the Devers trade was the big one that surprised a lot of people. Were you ever in a clubhouse where a prominent member of the team was shipped? I know you got traded. This is not a knock on you, but maybe a guy that was looked at as a cornerstone of this team, or somebody that was a bopper in the lineup, and boom, they're gone, and everybody's going, wait, what just happened here?
Yeah, it's that whether it's a trade or a guy got cut, right? I mean, there's a couple ways when you subtract a player from the team, it can really, obviously you're always hopeful and saying, oh, this is going to work out. We're getting a player that is going to help our roster, but I think when you go through a trade and somebody that's prominent in the clubhouse gets traded, it becomes very heart-wrenching because you realize, especially with a guy that is that, I call it pseudo captain in behind the scenes, someone that can take care of the young guys and make sure they're doing the right things and treating their bodies the right way, because he's been there, and then to be able to have to trade that guy or remove him from that environment. And something that started in spring training up until the deadline, you just feel like everything's all in with this team, and you're all in, right? And then boom, trade deadline hits, one of your boys gets traded, and it can be really hard sometimes to bounce back from it because of what this player potentially provided beyond the field.
Right.
I think that's the thing that is really hard to quantify, and I don't think that the teams necessarily. Some teams, I think, care about it, but some teams are like, that's not that important to us in terms of structuring a roster. I think, maybe more back in the day, I'm not sure how it was for you, Dave, if there were older guys that stuck around that helped younger guys, and we were going to keep him around because he provided more from a mentorship standpoint than a playing standpoint, and stuff that allow these young men to turn into, fully grown men.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way. So I just know how terrible it can be because you feel like you lose, honestly, a leader in the clubhouse that is providing so much more, I'm trying to think of the word, like so much more, I don't know, enthusiasm or I don't know, all in feeling like this is okay. We're here together. And it was when you're a young guy, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Dave. You're not going to come up and be the captain. You're not going to come up and be, hey,
No.
I just got drafted. I'm going to be the captain of the team.
Yeah, follow me.
Yeah, like no, I'm going to actually not speak until spoken to,
That's
and
exactly right.
we'll
Seen and not heard.
Yeah, we'll just keep showing up and working hard, and then over time you end up feeling like you earned a place of leadership, and how you can help the team. But yeah, it's so tough getting traded, and I think sometimes teams do maybe not have the best pulse on the clubhouse, and when you remove a guy, how much more impactful it can have to everyone else. It's just tough.
Yeah, Dave Brown, I remember he had like 63 career interceptions. He was like in his 10th or 12th year, and they traded him to Green Bay, and I just remember going, man, he was like the heart of the team. It felt like,
Right.
who was was it Kendall Graveman that everybody loved? And remember there was like kind of an uprising, I think, when that happened?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Abraham Toro.
Yeah, we got Toro.
Yeah. Clubhouse was it was poorly received. I think part of it was that the word was Jerry didn't come down and speak to anybody, didn't say anything about it. Just, he's not our teammate anymore. He's over on the other side because they were playing the
That's
Astros.
right. They were playing the Astros. Yeah.
So I can tell you a quick mutiny forming after a player was released actually. Released on his birthday, nonetheless, too, right? Like, oh, man, you're going to get rid of him on his birthday. And he wasn't even playing that bad. But after, you want to know his name? Like,
Yeah.
Sure do.
John Buck is his name. He was a catcher with us. Yes. Played in the big leagues, 10-plus years, guy that's been around.
Yeah.
And he came into the squad as the backup guy, but boy, did he bring some energy and some sort of funk inside that clubhouse and let players be themselves and would run like the microphone on the bus and all the trips and the plane and would get guys singing. And it was just, we're talking about a camaraderie guy at its like highest form. And he just brought that every day. And it just felt like, okay, this is like, you can't get rid of this guy. Like
right.
I know he's not playing every day and he's not like, doesn't have the greatest numbers, but what he provides inside the clubhouse is incredible. And then, sure enough, after the game, he gets released, actually, or designated for assignment. And everyone, I think weeks prior, actually, we had a team meeting that was like, all right, pretty intense with the coaches and players. Like, this is our guy. This is our team. This is our team. Like, and it was just like, all right, here we go. Kind of one of those rah-rah moments after a game. We probably lost by 10 or something, and of course the coach has to come out and yell at us, right, or motivate us. I mean,
Same thing.
And then this happens, and everyone's in shock, and we all kind of meet in the dining area, and we're just like, this isn't right. Like this can't be true. Like we can't allow this to happen. And probably, I don't know, 12, 13 of us like rallied, went into the manager's office. McClendon was the manager at the time, and just absolutely, like, I was kind of silent, but I was there. But there were players just absolutely ripping into the move, ripping into everything kind of Lloyd had said weeks prior. There was just like, get the GM down here now, get him down. Like it was really intense.
Is that Zarinsik?
Yeah, and then surely enough, now GM Chris Young with the Rangers, he was in that room with us, and I think he's Princeton grad, super well spoken, really, really, and obviously he's 6'10", he's huge, so he carries a presence. He stood up, like didn't say anything. He stood up and like went on this 5-minute rant. Felt like I wanted to jump on his back. It was like the greatest thing I'd ever heard, and then it literally left Lloyd speechless. He couldn't even respond.
Wow,
it was like it was unbelievable. So at this point, we leave the office thinking, we did it. Yeah. He's gonna get unreleased, or he's gonna come back. You know what I mean? Yeah. And no, it didn't happen.
It didn't.
No,
he was still released.
So we were kind of really pissed about it. Like it was a big deal. And
I remember that.
I think it was in it's either 2013 or 14, and in 14 we missed the playoffs by 1 game, and that just like you think like, oh, is that guy provide one more win beyond the stat sheet inside that clubhouse by bringing guys out and making sure they show up and work hard, and like he did a bunch of things so well that just don't show up on the stat sheet.
Yeah. Good stuff. Love those stories.
Yeah,
love that stuff. Charlie, we appreciate you, man. We'll do it again next week.
Looking forward to it.
Charlie Furbush in studio with us each and every week. You don't want to miss